Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. And, big primary last night. 5 for 5 for Trump, 4 for 5 for Hillary. And is it a done deal? Well, who knows? I am delighted to have back with us Liz Peek. She's a columnist for FoxNews.com and Fiscal Times. And we want to talk a little bit about the primary. And I got to tell you, Liz, people really appreciate you being on theDove. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
What'd you think last night? Is it all over?
I think it's close to all over. There's a lot to be said for momentum. And I think two things. One is Cruz's whole pitch that he's the only one who can really take on and beat Donald Trump doesn't really seem to be working for him. And his latest effort to crowd Donald Trump out of certain states with his alliance with John Kasich, it really didn't go over very well because it kind of feeds into Trump's whole narrative about the system being rigged and so forth and so on. But also, Donald Trump is beginning to poll better with more groups of people. I mean, last night in two states, he did particularly well with women, for example. And really the gender gap, so to speak, has been one of his biggest challenges. And I think he's beginning to overcome that. So if he can broaden his appeal, then in states like Indiana, everyone now it's so ironic to me that Indiana has now emerged as sort of the last gasp of the Stop Trump campaign. And it's one of the few states where there's never been any polling. So until very recently, we had no idea what was going on in Indiana. But anyway, he's going to, I think his resounding success last night in all different kinds of groups. He won every county in every state. I mean, that's almost unheard of. And he has now brought out more primary voters have voted for him than voted for Mitt Romney in the entire course of the primary season before. So he really is broadening Republicans' appeal. Some 60,000 people in Pennsylvania switched their registration from Democrat to Republican so they could vote for Trump. So, I think the arguments on the right and certainly the far right that he is a narrow candidate or that he can't get above 35%, we're really seeing that kind of dissolve. I mean, he's doing the job that he needs to do.
Okay. Is it Trump or is it the rebellion? What's going on here?
It's interesting. I think it's both maybe, but if you look at where Trump stands on a lot of issues that he has really been taken to task for by pundits and by the liberal media, certainly, things like his positions on banning Muslims from coming into the country, building a wall, some of his signature policies, he's actually very much in the mainstream. And I think that would surprise people. But look at the polling. For example, on abortion. Conservatives are very unhappy with Trump because he has not agreed with the long-standing platform that basically bans all abortions. Guess what? 19% of the country thinks that's a reasonable position. It is not a mainstream point of view. Donald Trump is basically, I think, couldn't care less about the abortion issue, actually, which is why he's unprepared to deal with it. But where he is where most of the country is, that in the case of rape or incest or the life of the mother, abortion should be made legal. What about immigration? I mean, you can talk all you want about President Obama having tried to push through amnesty and so forth. The truth is, Obama has hardened attitudes on immigration. Not so long before he took office, we were very close to national immigration reform, if you remember. It only failed by 2 or 3 votes in Congress. Now, people are really incensed about the flood of Central Americans across the border in 2012, and about the fact that people have come to understand that our border is not secure. So actually, if you look at the polling, again, Donald Trump is kind of with the mainstream of America. And again, that applies to the issue of allowing Muslims into the country. As much as he's been criticized, called a bigot and a racist and so forth, the truth is he's reflecting what a lot of people, common sense Americans, think, and they are tired of being diminished and not having their voices heard. I think it's sort of ironic, and I think this is going to be the big story coming out of this election, that working class Americans are going to start looking at the Republican Party as their champion and not at the Democratic Party. This is a huge upheaval. Vanity Fair has, a liberal magazine, very staunchly sort of intelligentsia focused, has come out with an editorial saying that the Democrats are increasingly appealing to the very top, the elites, the tech people and the Hollywood people, and the very poorest people. But the entire middle, they've abandoned. And I think that's where Donald Trump is working his magic. And boy, the numbers are impressive.
Boy, they really are. And one of the other things you've kind of alluded to it, the Democrat turnout's way off. If not, they've moved over and they're literally in some of these open primaries voting for Trump. It's an amazing thing to see happen. But it continues to be a real threat to the Republican establishment. They have met their match with him. What's your prediction, Liz? What do you think will happen? Will they court him, or will he court them, or will there still be a wall?
Oh, I think there's going to have to be a meeting of minds here pretty soon, because as we've seen, the Stop Trump movement is really not gaining traction. And again, after Indiana, maybe we're going to have a surprise there and all of a sudden there'll be a hiccup in his path to nomination. But I think increasingly it looks like Trump will be the nominee. And the Republicans aren't entirely stupid. They're going to want to protect the down slate, the down ticket vote. They don't want to lose the Senate. They're going to have to rally around this guy. And look, the liberal media, John Dickerson, for example, over the weekend on Meet the Press, or Face the Nation, was talking about a Goldwater type of loss under Trump. And I think that's what the media would like everyone to think, that this is going to be a total washout for the Republican Party. I don't believe it. I really don't think that that's the kind of candidate we have here. Again, because he does line up with the majority and because he's attracting so many independents and Democrats, people who will vote, presumably, the Republican ticket. And so, what's going to be worse, a fractured party or a candidate who is definitely not in thrall to the establishment, but which the establishment can get in bed with this election? I think that's what will happen.
All right, let me take a quick break here, Liz. We come back, we got a lot more to talk about. Interestingly enough, John Kasich going to be in Medford, Oregon tomorrow. Hey, we are small potatoes. So I don't know why Ted Cruz and John Kasich coalition seem to have any impact. It doesn't seem to be. But I'll get your comments on that. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Liz Peek. And again, she's the FoxNews.com columnist and also Fiscal Times. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back, and what a delight to have with us today Liz Peek. She is the columnist for FoxNews.com and also for Fiscal Times, and we certainly honor the time that we have with her and respect it because, she's a busy lady and she's got some great commentary. We're talking about the fallout from last night's 5-state primary. Donald Trump walked away, total winner in all 5. Hillary picked up 4 out of the 5. Hillary, Liz, is Bernie done?
Well, no. He may decide to halt his campaign. I don't have any real reason to. So it'll be just probably in deference to the tide of Hillary backers sort of pressing him to do so. He has lots of money. Usually people get out of the race because they run out of money, but he has been raising amazing amounts of money, outraising Hillary the last 3 months in a row, over $40 million a month. So he's been spending heavily, certainly, and running lots of ads. In fact, one of the most amazing statistics about last night is I think the Democrats spent $13.8 million that was the total spending in the 5 primaries, and of that, $11.8 million was Democrats, which is kind of amazing. Anyway, they're spending heavily, but Bernie can afford it. Why stay in? That's the question. And the answer is because he's having an amazing impact on Hillary's campaign, pushing her farther and farther to the left, to the point where, frankly, Republicans should rejoice if he stays in, because some of the positions she is now adopting are going to be very difficult to defend in a general election. And that's where she's headed. I mean, chances are, unless the FBI finally concludes its investigation and makes it clear that she should be indicted, Hillary will be the nominee for sure. She is stuck with positions such as advocating for all oil and gas to remain undeveloped on our federal lands. Well, now, that's a really crazy idea, because some 40% of America's future oil and gas reserves are on federal lands. Until Bernie Sanders raised this last fall, that was a position literally nobody agreed with. And now Hillary's had to buy into that, had to buy into anti-fracking policies, et cetera. Very, very down on energy generally, fossil fuel energy. And, I don't think most Americans agree with that. So whether it's that or the minimum wage, where now she's talking about $15 minimum wage countrywide, again, having been pushed there by Sanders, any small business owner, and I'm sure you've talked to many, I have, they just say, look, I can't afford that. I mean, if it basically goes to 15, I will be laying off workers. So those are the kinds of things that I think Hillary will have a problem with in the general election. But by the way, those are policies that Bernie Sanders is pushing for and will continue to do so.
Yeah, I think he's around for a little while. I know that Donald Trump would like to see him go independent, and I think even the millennials would like to see him go independent. Do you think the Democrats could let him go independent?
No. I mean, that would kill Hillary's chances for sure. And I don't think he'll do that. I don't think that Bernie Sanders set out to be the end of the Democratic Party. We know it. I don't think he's that much of a revolutionary, honestly. I think he's a very authentic progressive, and I think he has made his mark in this campaign. He should be quite pleased with what he's done. And he has generated a lot of excitement amongst young voters who may or may not turn out for Hillary in the fall. I think that's one of the big election questions.
Yeah. Well, Liz, thank you for your time. I know you're busy. Always interesting. Let's stay in touch. We got the Oregon primary coming up May 17th. The big one left is California. But, I was doing the math, and I don't claim to know it perfectly, but it still shows Donald coming up a little short. And even if he pulls off California. So, but at this point, I can't help but think that the convention's going to let him go ahead.
Well, the majority of Republican voters say that whoever wins the most delegates should get the nomination. That is not what the rules say. And so that is a fight. If he doesn't get, I hope he gets to 1237, frankly, because I think the Republican Party really will come apart in the seams if there's a convention fight. That just cannot work out well for anybody. And by the way, it never has in the past. So I think for the party, all the never Trump people should become never Hillary people and decide that that's the real issue here. Because a Hillary Clinton presidency, let's remember, means a liberal person on the Supreme Court, which means in turn that the immigration amnesty is left to stand, Obama's immigration amnesty, that all the anti-fossil fuel regulations that the EPA has ginned up, again, will be allowed to stand, and that much of Obama's legacy, including Obamacare, which most people see seriously overhauled, will remain the law of the land. And I don't want that to happen. I hope most voters won't want it to happen.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks for your time. Look forward to connecting again soon. And thanks for what you do. Talk to you again.
Thank you so much. Take care now.
We'll be right back.